created to have some fun together, sharing and singing. So, join and enjoy.
Our love for opera brings us together. Thanks for being with us in this trip.
Today, or this time in this episode of Parlons nous parlerons de one of the greatest verismo compositions. We are talking about Pagliacci by Maestro Ruggero Leoncavallo. I hope that you find, as well as I find, so many meanings in this opera that I will try to share with you. But before we jump into that, I would like to thank people to show my deepest appreciation to people who have been following this program for already a year, and I just went to the statistics and noticed that this new cycle called Parlons, where we are sharing some thoughts, ideas, anecdotes, emphasizing parts of the libretto, have been very successful, have been very, 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 very well welcomed by the audience. So thank you very much to people in the more than 25 countries that have been listening to these programs. I also wanted to share that it really takes, I'm not complaining, I'm just sharing. It really takes long thinking on what is it exactly that I want to share with you in each of the episodes. Of course, one always gets carried away by our own personal preferences in a given repertory. And you may have already noticed that this cycle of Parlons has been very heavy in general, except for two of the operas that it depends on the order you've been following with them and that they are published. It has been very heavy in a sense. Of course, that reflects kind of my personal preference towards a given repertory, but don't worry, that will be changing slightly in the programs ahead. So now, after thanking you all, thank you very much. I really enjoy preparing and taking care of my notes and sharing what is it that we are going to be talking about. Today, as I was telling you, nous parlons de Pagliacci, and we are going to talk about Pagliacci, but we are also going to talk about more specific about the role or how Jose Carreras sang this role when he was early, I wouldn't like to say young, or let's say early mature qualities of his voice. Personally, I can share with you that if I were to choose one out of the three tenors, that at least the three tenors that used to be singing together, that is Plácido Domingo, Luciano Pavarotti, and Jose Carreras, I lean towards Jose Carreras for a good number of reasons. Among those reasons, it's the beauty of his voice. Of course, people can always criticize, because that's what we people do best. Criticizing, people can criticize the technique of Jose Carreras, if the notes are not as high as Pavarotti's, or if something else. There is always a reason to disqualify qualities of people's, and moreover the qualities of the voices of the singers. But personally, what I find in the voice of Jose Carreras is a warmth. From my perspective, he's always so true, so sincere in the understanding of the roles, that is something that I really appreciate. You may people be also familiar with the fact that in his early, or when he was starting his career, he was often compared to the very, very, very great Giuseppe Di Stefano. Of course, people, Di Stefano, liked much better also Jose's Carrera's voice rather than the two other tenors, because of course Carrera's qualities are closer to Di Stefano's, so it is not surprised that one tends to like the voice that is similar to the one that we have. But more than that preference that Giuseppe people had for Jose Carreras, it is true that prior to getting sick, you may people also be familiar with the fact that unfortunately Jose Carreras had or suffered of a very severe illness in the late 80s, which took him out of the stage for a good number of years. Fortunately, he recovered. Of course, he never was what he used to be before. I think that it is miracle or good enough that he survived to even say, well, he was better prior to his illness. Of course, once you get touched by cancer, you are never the same, not only vocally but physically. So I think it is unfair to compare to what happened to him later. Also, we find in the qualities of the voice of Jose Carreras, what I liked a lot in his is that the center of his voice is powerful, both nice and powerful. That is a characteristic that is not easily found. Usually, lyrical tenors have a very beautiful voice, of course, but the center of their voices is not powerful, but that tends to be the opposite in Jose Carreras' voice. His central notes are very well rounded, have a good quality of power and sound, and that's what maybe those are my thoughts led him to dare to sing Pagliacci. But why is it important to say that? Because if you're a singer already, or if you're familiar with this repertoire, you know that Pagliacci is not to be sung by just any singer. Pagliacci is not only one of the most extraordinary verismo operas, but it is also one of the most difficult ones for the tessitura of the tenor. It really demands a powerful voice, a voice that can penetrate the orchestra. The orchestration in Pagliacci is at a very good number of times very heavy. The voices demanded, both the baritone Antonio and the qualities of the characteristics of Neda, make or require a very good tenor in the sense of the verismo. Nice, beautiful Rodolfo's voice in Pagliacci would have nothing to do. This is way too much for most of the tenors. And the drama it carries is also very heavy, so it also requires an artist that can understand what is going on a stage and makes it believable. You also know that Pagliacci is usually represented at the same time as Cavalleria Rusticana. In our series, Nous Parlons de, they are not together. I did it on purpose because I don't think that the quality of one of the operas, Cavalleria, depends on the quality of Pagliacci and vice versa. They are two very different operas. Short, and that's what they are usually put together, but it doesn't mean that they really depend on each other to prove the value of the art that both Maestro Leoncavallo in Pagliacci did, as well as Mascagni's Cavalleria Rusticana. But going now to the point, and I will be making reference more often to what I believe are the passages and the qualities of Jose Carreras in Pagliacci. But let's go to the first point, that it opens and it is somehow different in the sense that it is theater inside the theater, because we're watching an opera, we know, but them at their time they are part of a small theatrical group, this Pagliacci, and they are representing. It is made reference to La Commedia dell'arte somehow, so the names of the characters make reference to that. But they are inside a group of I don't want to call them really clowns, even though that's the right translation to Pagliacci, because we tend to think that, and you will see in the representation they have, that it is only ridiculous things to make people laugh, and that is not exactly what is going to happen. So with that note, let's go back to that. And since we are watching a representation of this, that case would be an opera, but a play, the representation of that play inside of the opera we're watching. So the first thing that happens is that through the curtain, El Prólogo introduces himself, which is very strange, right? That is not very standard. So the Il Prólogo, now it is time sung by Tonio, a baritone. Of course, this aria that starts Si può, si può, is a very great favorite of baritones of all the past decades, because it gives the chance to the baritone to show the beauty of his voice. Of course, we need to read si può, Signore, signori. Scusate sì se da sol mi presento, io sono il prologo. I think that it is very important that the baritone does a great singing here, not because it is difficult, but because it has to be convincing. You are presenting yourself to the eyes of the audience and you say, hey, I am the prologue, and I will be telling you about something. Listen, in sin maybe le antiche maschere mette l'autore in parte vuol riprendere la vecchia usanza. Because on stage, the ancient masks that the author introduces, somehow trying to bring back memories of the old ways of doing it, he's sending me to you again, but not to tell you that, as before, le lacrime che noi versiamo son false. Degli spasimi dei vostri martiri non allarmatevi. Those tears that we are sharing are false. And that of the sufferings of our martyrs do not fall into alarm. No. Le lacrime che noi versiamo son false, delle spasime dei nostri martiri non allarmatevi. No, l'autore ha cercato invece pingervi in uno squarcio di vita. On the contrary, the author is trying to grasp a piece of what nature really is, because he thinks, the most important thing he thinks is that the artist is the man, and as to him as such, he must be writing to, and that is why he's inspiring our reality. A good number of memories in the bottom of his soul. So one day he decided to sing them, and with true tears, he wrote them between whispers and cryings as he was writing the score of it. E i singhiozzi il tempo li battevano. That's what the prologue is telling us. That no, the author has made an effort to put on stage something that really brings humanity to the surface. Dunque vedrete amarsi come si amano gli esseri umani. So you will see people love just the way people love each other. You will see hate and the sad results of such hate. Dei dolori e gli spasimi, urli di rabbia udrete e risa ciniche. E voi piuttosto che le nostre povere gabane di strioni. Le nostre anime considerate, poiché siamo uomini di carne ed ossa, e che di questo orfano mondo al pari voi speriamo l'aere. So, you will listen to those yells, spasimi of dolore, rage. You will see people laughing with cynical laughing, and you, more than our poor heroes in the story, your almas, your souls, you should consider as we are women and men in flesh and blood in this orphan world, that as you, we also breathe air. Il concetto vi dissi, ora ascoltate come li è svolto, andiamo, and with the notes by the orchestra, we understand that we are to start the representation of I Pagliacci. And with a very beautiful choral and musical introduction that describes the life of Pagliacci, we have a scene where something very important is going to happen, because as they are laughing and they are inviting Canio, who is our protagonist, they are inviting to follow them, and one of the characters there, that it is this Antonio himself, says, no, 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 you go ahead, I would like to rest behind. And the rest of the people, the contadino, they are called, they say, vada Pagliaccio, ei solo vuol restare per far la corte a Neda. Be careful, Pagliaccio, clown. He wants to remain alone just to flirt to Neda. And Canio, our protagonist, says, ha ha, vi pare, and this is very important, he says, tra il serio e l'ironico, with irony and very serious, un tal gioco credetemi, è meglio non giocarlo con me. Such a game, believe me, is better not to play it with me, because all of you dear of mine, and to Tonio, and a little to everyone, I tell you that theater and life are not the same thing. Because if down there on stage, Pagliaccio catches his wife with a handsome guy in his bedroom and sends a very comic, a very funny speech, then he comes down and with just a button hits the traitor, and that's pretty much it. People loves and cries, ha ha, but that is theater. Because if I find Neda, if I really found Neda in that way, in that situation, the history would end very, very differently. That is what I'm telling you. Un tal gioco, credetemi, è meglio non giocarlo. Don't you ever dare to have such a game on me. At this time, we have seen Canio very upset, telling us, don't you ever pretend that Neda is to be found with somebody else, because something very horrible is going to happen. Neda, who was very close, says, oh, confusa io sono. I feel sick. And Canio replies, io? Vi pare, scusatemi, adoro la mia sposa. Forgive me if I seem to be so harsh. I really love my wife. So, trying somehow to forget that scene, people leave, and then there comes a time for Neda to sing a very beautiful aria, which I have to confess that it really took me a long time to understand. This aria that is usually called Qual fiamma avea nel guardo, what a fire he had in his eyes, because Neda saw when he described how would you react if he was to catch her being unloyal. But she says, gli occhi abbassai per tema che leggesse il mio pensier segreto. Se mi sorprendesse brutale come l'è. That starting part is very important because she's scared. Qual fiamma avea nel guardo, gli occhi abbassai per tema che leggesse il mio pensier segreto. She has just told us that she looked the other way so that he couldn't read the secret in her eyes. What is her secret? Se mi sorprendesse brutale come l'è. And that is very important because the soprano has to prove us that she's a very good actress herself and that she's very scared. She's scared of that brutal man, his husband, Canio. Se mi sorprendesse brutale come l'è. This is one of the parts where the verismo brings us that making us understand, believe that what is going on the opera is very important. Because if the soprano just goes like, "Oh, se mi sorprendesse brutale come lì è," as if she was singing the O mio bambino caro, of course it doesn't make sense. She starts being very scared and surprised. What could he do if he was to surprise me with all the brutal man he is? Ma basti, or via, son questi sogni paurosi e folle. Oh, che bel sale di mezzo agosto, io son piena di vita e tu te languidita per arcano desio, non sé che bramo. But, basti, okay, that's it, got it. These dreams are such horrible madness, but what a beautiful sol di mezzo agosto. What a beautiful sun of this mid-August, and me, in the plenitude of my life, I languish of desire for an unknown guy. I really don't know what I want. Oh, che volo d'angeli e quanto strida, che chiedono dove van chissà. You know, now like captured in a dream, she says. And now those birds flying, oh, noisy guys. What are they looking for? Where are they going? Who knows? My mother, who knew how to read fortune, understood their sayings, and to me, as a child, used to sing to me like this. Stridono la sua liberamente, lasciasti a vol come frecci su gel. And with words that tell us that she's so inspired with the memory of her mother and the birds flying, what we understand now is that Neda, and this is very important to mention now, Neda is nothing but a woman who deserves to be loved, a woman who deserves to love. I wanted to mention this because to many people, Neda is nothing but a traitor, nothing but a woman who ended up being unloyal to his husband. And that is true. She was unloyal. We will understand it a little later. But here in this beautiful aria, she's painted us just as a woman who deserves to love. For whom is it to judge? She doesn't have the right to love. Do we really know enough of her so to think that she deserved what is going to happen to her later? You, depending on the type of life you have had your lives, you may feel that it is fair or unfair, but moreover than that, we really need to give some thoughts to this woman who maybe just tried to follow her heart. Really didn't want to hurt Canio. She ended up doing that. But that was not her purpose. Her only purpose was to love. And this beautiful aria tells us about how she is carried away with this memory and is sharing with us a little piece of her soul. Fanno lanciò verso un paese strano che sognano forse e che cercano invano. And she ends telling Evan, Evan, Evan. And they live, and they live, and they live. Those birds who have brought those thoughts to her. And as she finishes singing her aria, two very important things are going to happen. The first one, Tonio will appear because what they had just made a joke to Canio is in fact, it is true. Tonio wants to have something with Neda, but Neda doesn't want and says, no, this is what I'm going to tell you, and you are going to listen to me. I love you, and I desire that you are going to be mine. Of course, Neda refuses. She laughs at him. Tonio says, you're laughing at me. Sciagurata, per la croce di Dio, bada che puoi pagar la cara. Tonio says, you're going to pay this to me. I swear it on the cross of God. Neda says, tu minacci. Vuoi che vado a chiamar Canio? You're threatening me. You want me to go there and call Canio? Antonio says, no, not before I kiss you. Neda says, no, bada. Tonio insists, you are meant to be mine. And Neda insists and hits him on the face. You miserabile. Tonio says, per la Virgine d'Agosto, per la Virgin Pia di Mezzagosto, Neda, la giuro, me lo pagherai. Neda, you will pay me for this. Tonio leaves, still threatening to her that he is going to have his revenge. And Silvio enters. But who is Silvio? Silvio is the man that Neda just told us she was falling in love for an unknown guy. This unknown guy turns out to be Silvio. And Silvio starts having this love scene, this love encounter with Neda, and they are sharing their thoughts. Silvio asks, Neda, rispondimi, se è vero che Canio non amasti mai, se è vero che te in odio, il rimangare il mestiere che tu fai, se l'immenso amor tale una folla non è, questa notte partiamo, fuggi Neda con me. Neda, answer to me, if it is true that you don't love Canio, if you hate this life of going here and there, succumbing, if your immense love is not just a temporary follia, a temporary craziness, let's run away tonight. Neda, run away with me. Neda says, but don't tempt me. You want me to lose my life? Shut up, Silvio. It's just delirio, follia. But I trust you, io mi confido a te, qui diedi il corno a abusar di me, del mio febbrile amore. But I know you, or I trust you won't abuse of me, of this febrile love that I feel for you. Please don't tempt me. Silvio replies, come on, let's run away with me. Antonio, you know this Tonio that just left, threatening Neda, has now the opportunity for his revenge because he's hiding. He has noticed, he has seen the love of Neda. He has noticed that he is with another guy. And while Neda is replying, yes, Silvio, I love you. Silvio says, if you're leaving tomorrow, why this now? Neda says, okay, let's forget everything. Neda says, yes, I'll go with you, just kiss me. Tonio, who had left to call Canio, because remember that he wants to have his revenge, has brought Canio so that Canio can catch them in that moment of infidelity. Canio appears and they notice immediately, so Silvio runs away. And Neda shouts, Fuggi, aiutalo, signore, so that he can escape. Canio enters in scena and says, Vile, t'ascondi. Antonio laughing, ha ha ha. Neda says, bravo, master Tonio. Tonio, fa quello che posso. Tonio says, I'm doing everything I can, but I can do better. Canio says, derisioni e scherno. Nulla i ben lo conosci qual sentier fa lo stesso, poiché del drudo il nome, or mi dirai, You, Neda, are going to tell me the name of that man who was with you. And you're going to tell me now. Neda says, Chi? Canio, furente, very angry. Tu, pel Padre Eterno. E se in questo momento qui scanata non lo lie, perché prima di lordarla nel tardo fetido sangue o svergognata codesta lama io vai il suo nome, parla. Because if right now I am not killing you, it's just because I want to, and this is a very, I need to make a pause there. I want to mention something. The words that are used in Italian in this opera, in this veristic opera, are horrible. And horrible in the sense that they are harsh. They are harsh words to be said to anyone. When Canio, when anyone on scene is humiliating or telling something to anyone, the words are tough. They are not like we are seeing Lucia di Lammermoor, where there is nice words to express anger. In this case, he says, I don't want to, and he says, I don't want to lodarla nel taro fetido sangue. This, he's using a pugnale, a sort of a knife. He doesn't want to make it get dirty in your horrible putrefactus blood, because I want to know his name. Parla! Ah, vano l'insulto e molto il labbro mio. Ah, your insult is useless. My lips are sealed. Il nome non tardai, oh donna! I want to know his name. You're going to tell me his name. Oh donna, you woman. Neda says, non lo dirò jamais. I will never tell you. And now, threatening Neda with the knife, he says, per la Madonna! Just about to kill him. But Beppe, another guy of the company, of the group of these comics, appears and says, Padrón, quietate per l'amor di Dio. So Beppe stops Canio. Had he not stopped Canio, maybe Canio would have killed Neda right away. And Beppe says, Tonio, andiamo, the public is arriving. Remember that they are going to be making a representation there. So there comes one of the most well-known arias, very short arias by Canio. One of the arias that has transcended the understanding of Pagliacci and to be known by many people as Ridi Pagliaccio. Recitar mentre preso del delirio non so. What is Canio telling us here now? He's going to tell us that you have to make your role, you have to make your representation, even if your heart is broken. Bah! Are you not a man? You're just a Pagliaccio. Nothing else but a clown. So go there and do what you are being paid for. And here, before I share with you this part of Canio, I would also like to mention that since it is a very well-known aria, tenors like to sing it in the style more of a lyrical tenor. Ridi Pagliaccio, but that is not the case. Canio has his heart broken. He's dying before he enters the stage. It cannot be sung beautifully. It has to be gelled maybe with the heart, with the voice so very broken. Recitar mentre pressa del delirio non so più quel che dico e quel che faccio, eppure dopo sforzati, va, sei tua passione. Pagliaccio, vesti la giova e la faccia in farina, la gente paga e ride muore qua, se Arlecchin t'invola colombina, ridi Pagliaccio e ognuno applaudirà. Tramota innanzi lo spasmo ed il pianto, in una smorfia il singhiozzo e il dolore. Ridi, Pagliaccio, sul tuo amore in pranto, ridi del duol che t'avvelena il cor. And so sometimes there is weeping by the singer, trying to give continuity to this aria, because as you notice when he says che t'avvelena il cor, of course you can always exaggerate and overdo things, which is one of the specialties by opera singers, what I have called the fan service. And that is usually fan service when the tenor overdoes everything. But I would like to invite you there to listen to Jose Carrera's rendition of this aria. Notice how he puts his heart in that aria. I would like to then insist that, of course, this is an aria, or this is an opera that is written for much heavier voices, which Carreras managed to sing adequately. And even if not the most powerful tenor for this opera, he was, from my perspective, the most believable one. Because with the beauty of his voice, he's reminding us that at the end, Canio is nothing but another human. And with that being said, the representation is going to happen now. Now, the group of the Pagliacci are going to make the representation of a situation that is pretty much what we just saw happen. Neda, with her lover, being caught by the husband, Canio. And now, on the scene, on what they are representing, is going to happen the same. Canio is going to be representing a husband who catches his unloyal wife with another man, of course, after having noticed that there is more than one cup of coffee there. That is going to happen, and we are about to witness one of the most shaking and very terrible scenes that have ever been written for the opera, for the stage. The things that what Maestro Cavallo accomplished in this scene is so very, I don't want to say scary, but so very shocking because of the tremendous words and violence that we are going to be listening for the following minutes. Canio will appear, and noticing that on scene they are going to be the same words. Le stesse parole. The same words as when he caught Neda and his lover. Of course, he knows that he's on stage and that he must control himself, but he's unable to do that. And being unable to do that, we are going to witness one of the most horrible scenes that have ever been written for stage. Fortunately, Jose is in very good conditions in those years, the 80s mainly, early 80s when he managed to sing this. And the qualities of him having a powerful center voice gave this availability of the role. And as I was telling you, what I like the most about Carrera's rendition is that he makes it believable with the lovely voice that he has, that it is a man who cannot control himself, not just an animal, as it is usually pictured by Maestro Mario del Monaco, or almost a hero, as it has been also been sung by Corelli. Of course, the two of them are much powerful voices than Carreras, but Carreras manages to make it believable. And so Neda says, Hasta notte e per sempre sarò tua, till this night, and I shall always be yours, says in the representation Colombina to his lover. And Canio, who is representing the role, says, Nome di Dio, queste parole. In the name of God, those are the same words. Coraggio, trying to control himself, asking maybe God to give him that force, that he is strong enough. Oh no, me la con te. And Colombina, Neda, says, Che folle sei briaco, briaco, replies Canio. Si, da un'ora. Yeah, I've been drunk for almost an hour. Tornasti presto, says Colombina or Neda. Ma in tempo, con intenzione, because he says, I arrived on time. T'ancora, dolce sposina. We have to notice here that the libretto says, the score says, con ira. It is very important that we have to see how Canio starts losing his temper. He's losing all control that he thinks he has. Even though he's trying emotionally to control, that is not what is happening. He's losing it. Solia io ti credea e due posti sola. I thought you were alone, but there are two dishes, or there are two cups, two services on the table. Col me sedentadeo, che la si chiuse per paura. So he was scared and he ran away. And she insists, Orso, parla. Of course, this is part of the representation. Tonio, the man who wanted to have affair with Neda, who was rejected, and that now is in the same representation. He says, Credetela, credeletela, essa è pura. Here, if we have the chance of having a great baritone in the recording or representation we are watching, it is very important the intention he pours here, because sometimes the baritone says it like credetela, to prove that he is scared, credetela, and then the intention essa pura, sometimes with a falsetto, because he wants to say she's pure. Ha ha! Of course she's not, but he's not going to say that she's not pure. He's going to prove the intention in essa è pura. E aborre di mentir, and she hates, aborrire del mentir, she hates, she detests to tell lies. Quel labbro pio. Also the intention by the baritone. Quell'abro pio. Making laugh of those candid pure lips. No way. Canio, very upset, says, Per la morte smettiamo! O dritti tu anch'io da Don Guir, come tanti l'altro, il nome suo! He insists, I want his name. And Colombina says, Di chi? Whose name is it that you want? Vuoi il nome dell'amante tuo, del re infamia qui ti desti in braccio, o turpedona! I want the name of that infamous guy that was in your arms, o turpedona! In response, Colombina says, Pagliaccio, Pagliaccio, as part of the representation. But at this time, Neda, that knows that Canio is not asking about the name of the guy in the representation, but about the true name of her lover, in also with intention, like laughing, like mocking, like humiliating of him, Pagliaccio, Pagliaccio, you just a clown, just a clown. And Canio will reply us with a very strong part saying, No, Pagliaccio non sono. No, I am not a clown. Se il viso è pallido e di vergogna e smonia di vendetta. No, I am not a clown. If my face is pale, is of shame of you, and because of this willing of having my revenge. No, Pagliaccio non son, se il viso è pallido e di vergogna e smania di vendetta, lo riprendi i suoi dritti e il cor che sanguina vuole sangue alla lontana o maledetta. No, Pagliaccio non son quei che Stalino ti raccoglie a farfanella in sua via, quasi morta di fame, volome affriati, ed un amor che la febbre follia. And after having shared all he has done for the love he had for Neda, the female chorus says, Comare, mi fai piangere. Oh, comare, they are about to make me cry. Io mi ritengo appena, says Silvio, the lover. Everything seems so true. It doesn't seem to be a representation. Well, that's what the chorus says. And Canio continues, Sperai tanto il delirio ciecato m'aveva, se non amor, pietà, mercé, ed ogni sacrificio al cornietto imponeva, e fidenta credeva più che Dio stesso in te, ma il vizio alberga solo negletta, tu visse non hai, solo te e senza te, va non mentir del mio dol, o benetrice aviata, vuole l'asprezzo mio scacciati sotto il piede. And Neda says, but if you judge that I am not fair, that you don't deserve me, lasciami in questo istante, then let me live. Giudichi che di te indegna mi scaccia in questo istante. But Canio says, di meglio. Why do you want it for? Because you want to run. You want me to leave you so that you can run directly to the arms of your lover. A correre al caro tuo amante. Sei turba. No, per Dio, tu resterai e il nome del tuo gonzo mi dirai. You're going to stay here and you will tell me his name. And now, Neda, remembering the role of Colombina, retakes the role in the representation with a melody that tries to make it less terrible, but that in fact adds the opposite, adds more anger to Canio. Sovvia così terribile, d'aver non ti credea, qui nulla hai di tragico, vieni a dirlo Tadeo, che l'uom se dottor dianzi, or dianzi a me vicino, era il pauroso ed innocente Arlecchino. Of course, I was telling you, this is not going to calm Canio. In fact, it's going to make him more and more anger. I want his name, il nome, or you are not going to leave this place with life. Tu mi sfidi e ancora non hai capito che io non ti chiedo il nome o la tua vita, il nome. And Neda is going to reply, ah no, per mia madre indegna ser posio, o quello vuoi, ma invidia non son per Dio. I could be all those things you have just said about me, but I will not say his name. Of course, Canio, in that brought consumed, but that anger still reclaims for the name. Neda insists, di quel tuo segno l'amor mio più forte, non parlerò, no, a costo della morte, no. And Canio says, il nome, a te, di morte negli spassi mi lotterai. And as he has strung himself to kill Neda, understanding that he's going to truly call her in a last sense of desperation, gives the name Soccorso Silvio. Silvio is the name that Canio wanted. As he's killing, or he has just killed Neda, he turns his head and says, "Ah, sei tu, venga." And throwing himself to Canio with the same knife, kills Silvio in front of everybody. Sometimes in this last phrase, La commedia è finita is usually sung by the same Canio telling everything is over. La commedia è finita. This representation is over. You can go home. Sometimes, as it is written in the story, a story has to be Canio. Tonio, the same guy who opened with the prologue. He was the prologue, and now that he has accomplished his desire, la commedia è finita. Usually, there are some crying of the tenor, Canio understanding that in this rage, this jealousy, he has just killed the woman he loved, because at the end he felt he loved Neda. He couldn't manage to understand that she loved someone else. So what is it that Maestro Leon Cavallo tells us in this story? Verismo. The Verismo tells us that there is women who love, maybe not corresponding to the man, but women who deserve to love, a man who deserved to be loved, Canio himself, who gave just what he had, a nome, a place where Neda could eat. Maybe at the end, everyone here was just a victim. Thank you very much.